Since its debut with the German Wehrmacht on the battlefields of Europe in the mid-20th century, the MG34 machine gun, or Maschinengewehr 34, is without a doubt one of the most fearsome and iconic weapons in the history of warfare.
The MG34 was known for its power, accuracy, and versatility, making it one of the most famous guns in military history. When it first came out, it was a groundbreaking weapon. But despite how well it worked, it caused problems for the German army in World War II. The MG34 was meant to be a one-size-fits-all gun, but it turned out to be hard to make and maintain. In the end, it was both a great weapon and a big challenge. When the MG34 first appeared on the battlefield, it was groundbreaking. Created in complete secrecy before World War II began, it was the most advanced machine gun of its time. The weapon was developed in the early 1930s, when the German military began working on a new kind of weapon that could serve multiple roles, something that had never been achieved before. The German engineers knew they couldn't afford the logistical challenge of multiple types of machine guns, so they designed a single weapon that could function in offensive and defensive combat, mounted on tanks, used as anti-aircraft, and more. By 1934, the design was ready, and in 1936, the MG34 entered full production. The German military didn't just want a machine gun, they wanted perfection. This meant a weapon that was light, flexible, and capable of delivering devastating firepower in almost any combat scenario. Unlike other nations, which used different weapons for different roles, Germany's engineers aimed to create a machine gun capable of replacing multiple models with a single versatile weapon. At its core, the MG34 was a game-changer. It was lighter than previous heavy water-cooled machine guns, which made it far more maneuverable in the field. It could be adapted for almost any use, from a mounted gun on tanks and aircraft to a light infantry weapon. The MG34 had unparalleled flexibility and devastating firepower, and it quickly became the backbone of the German infantry in World War II. However, while the MG34 was an engineering marvel, its very perfection would come back to haunt the German military. The MG34 was first tested in combat during the Spanish Civil War in the late 1930s, where it immediately proved its superiority over the older, slower, and bulkier water-cooled machine guns that were still in use by most armies. When World War II broke out, Germany already had a sizable stockpile of MG34s. By the time the war began, over 50,000 units had already been produced, giving the German military a significant edge. The weapon quickly became a core component of the German military's strategy, particularly in the new form of warfare known as blitzkrieg, a fast, coordinated attack using tanks, infantry, and air support. This new strategy emphasized mobility and speed, and the MG34 fit perfectly within this approach. It was versatile enough to be mounted on tanks, half-tracks, and aircraft, but its real strength came when used by infantry. In a typical squad, the MG34 would serve as the centerpiece of the firepower, with the rest of the team supporting it. The machine gunner, assisted by a secondary gunner and support personnel, could lay down a wall of suppressive fire while the rest of the squad maneuvered or supported the gun. This use of the MG34 in infantry tactics was revolutionary, and it quickly became clear that the German military had found a way to integrate machine guns into its squad structure in a manner no one else had managed before. The MG34 could be carried by a single soldier, mounted on a tripod, or even used on a vehicle. This flexibility allowed it to excel in a variety of roles, giving German forces an unmatched level of firepower. However, as the war dragged on, the limitations of the MG34 began to surface. While it was effective in battle, the MG34's complexity and the high quality of materials required for its manufacture made it difficult to produce in large numbers. Even with its widespread use, the weapon was expensive to build, and this would eventually become a significant issue as Germany faced mounting pressure on its industrial capacity. Despite the MG34's effectiveness, it had serious drawbacks when it came to wartime production. The weapon's design was highly advanced, but that also meant it was difficult and time-consuming to manufacture. The MG34 required high-quality materials and skilled labor, which limited its mass production capabilities. On average, it took around 150 man-hours to build a single MG34, making it a slow process compared to other weapons. By contrast, the MG42, which would eventually replace the MG34 in most infantry roles, was much quicker and cheaper to produce. The MG42 used stamped parts instead of milled ones, allowing it to be produced much faster and at a lower cost. While the MG34 was a superior weapon in terms of flexibility and performance, the MG42's faster production time and rugged design made it more suitable for large-scale production during the later years of the war. The need for precision manufacturing also created another issue: reliability in harsh conditions. The MG34 had very tight tolerances in its manufacturing, which meant it was susceptible to malfunctions in dusty, muddy, or sandy environments. This was particularly problematic on the Eastern Front, where sand and dirt could easily clog the weapon's parts. The MG42, on the other hand, was more rugged and easier to maintain, which made it better suited for combat conditions, especially in areas with extreme weather or terrain. This disparity in production and durability became a major factor in the MG34's replacement. As the war wore on, Germany's ability to produce the MG34 in large numbers dwindled, and it became clear that a more practical, mass-produced machine gun was needed. The MG42 eventually took over the MG34's role in most infantry units, but the MG34 didn't disappear entirely. It remained in production for some time, especially for use in vehicles and tanks, where its design and ability to change barrels quickly proved advantageous. One of the key reasons the MG34 continued to be used until the end of the war was its adaptability in vehicle and tank operations. While the MG42's faster barrel change made it a better fit for infantry use, the MG34's design was better suited to tight spaces, such as inside the turrets of tanks. The MG34's barrel could be pulled straight out from the back, allowing it to be easily changed inside a cramped turret, unlike the MG42, which required the operator to remove the barrel sideways. This feature made the MG34 the go-to machine gun for mounting inside German tanks, half-tracks, and armored vehicles. The MG34's design was optimized for this role, and its reliable operation in these environments ensured its continued use, even as the MG42 became the dominant infantry weapon. Additionally, the MG34 was used as the main machine gun in German aircraft throughout the war. The versatility of the MG34 allowed it to be mounted on both ground vehicles and aircraft with minimal modification, adding to its staying power. Its ability to perform in multiple roles, from infantry support to anti-aircraft fire, made it an indispensable tool in Germany's arsenal. Despite its success, the MG34's downfall came down to one simple fact: it was too good. Its complexity, production difficulties, and sensitivity to harsh combat conditions ultimately made it a problem for the German military. As the war progressed, the need for mass production and reliability became even more crucial, and the MG42 was introduced as a solution. The MG42 could be produced much faster and was more durable, making it ideal for large-scale use. It also had a higher rate of fire, making it more effective in suppressing enemy infantry. However, the MG34's role in German tank and vehicle operations meant it wasn't completely phased out. It was still used in certain specialized roles, particularly in armored vehicles, until the end of the war. By 1942, the production of the MG34 had slowed significantly, but it still remained an important part of the German military. As the MG42 began to dominate the battlefield, the MG34 was relegated to secondary roles, such as vehicle-mounted weapons and anti-aircraft duties. In many ways, the MG34's legacy was preserved in these specialized roles, where its unique design gave it an edge over other machine guns. Though it was eventually replaced in most infantry roles by the MG42, the MG34 remained an important part of the German arsenal until the end of the war. Its perfection in design, though a problem in large-scale production, was one of the reasons it had such staying power in the German military. Even though the MG34 was eventually replaced by the MG42 in most infantry roles, its influence on modern military machine gun design is undeniable. The MG34 was the first true general-purpose machine gun, setting the standard for the design of modern machine guns used by armies around the world. Its concept of a flexible multi-role weapon influenced the development of machine guns for decades. Today, we see that the idea of creating a versatile, lightweight and powerful machine gun remains at the core of most modern military designs. While newer models have improved on the MG34's weaknesses, the underlying concept it introduced remains a blueprint for the design of machine guns used by many nations. What made the MG34 so groundbreaking was its ability to serve in a variety of combat roles. It could be used by infantry squads, mounted on vehicles, and even deployed as an anti-aircraft weapon. This adaptability set it apart from earlier machine guns, which were often limited to a single role. It was this flexibility that allowed the MG34 to become a key part of Germany's military strategy, helping them execute the fast-paced blitzkrieg tactics that defined the early years of the war. Although the MG34's perfection made it a problem in terms of production, its contribution to the field of machine gun design is still felt today. The MG34 wasn't just ahead of its time. It was the model from which all future general-purpose machine guns would be designed. The MG34 was more than just a machine gun. It was a revolution in weaponry. Its design was perfect, a weapon that could be used in almost any combat role. But its perfection also made it a logistical nightmare. Its complexity, combined with the need for high-quality materials and precision manufacturing, meant that it couldn't be produced in the massive quantities needed for a prolonged war. Despite being replaced by the MG42 in most infantry roles, the MG34 continued to serve in specialized roles until the end of World War II. Today, the legacy of the MG34 lives on in modern military machine guns. Its role as the first true general-purpose machine gun set the stage for future designs and revolutionized the way militaries approach infantry firepower. Its innovation and adaptability to various combat roles made it one of the most important weapons of its time.